Hi, this is Andy Mangum. I'm going to show you some tips on managing long documents. I'm not an expert, but there are some things that I have learned over the time that may help you. This is primarily for students taking the CMLT program theology course with me from Phillips Seminary, but this might be effective for other people who are organizing long documents, particularly ministers who might be preparing curriculum or an elder's handbook or something else that's a long document to be used for other people. Oftentimes when we're preparing these long documents, these composite documents, we've copied and pasted from other documents that we've written or from the web or from things that other people have sent us, and we end up with what I might generously describe as a hot mess, that there are so many different things in there that we want to change. So one of the ways to clear that out is to clear the formatting. You can clear the formatting for a particular paragraph. So if I just select that one paragraph and I hit clear formatting by pulling that down, this is a styles menu box in the home screen. And if I come down here to clear formatting, that's going to get rid of all of the formatting of what I have selected. That means it's going to remove every bold, every italics, every underline, every color change, and all of the font changes are going to go to whatever is set up as the normal settings. And so if I decide, I needed something that was still there, I can hit Control Z, and that will undo what I've just done. But let's say I said, no, the document is a hot mess. I need to clear it all. I can hit Control A, and then I can clear that formatting that way. I pull this down and hit clear formatting. It gets rid of all of the formatting in the document. Now you may not want to do that, that's fine, but from here I can show you a little bit about what styles will do for you. So notice now everything in this document falls into this normal style. If I right click that tool and go to modify, now I can modify everything in the document that is identified as normal, all with one set of clicks. Right, so I may want to change the font to Arial. I may want to change the size to 10-point font, and I may want to change the color of something. Probably wouldn't want normal, but just so that you can see what it looks like, we'll make that a bit of a gray there. I can change the spacing between paragraphs and between lines. And so if I make those changes, then it changes the whole document all at once. Again, go back to normal and modify. And down here, I can change things in the paragraph. This is going to change some things in terms of whether the first line is indented or I've got hanging indent, or if everything's going to be indented, spacing before and after the paragraphs. And that's a very helpful, and I can set the tabs for that style for that document. I can again go back to documents. I can do tabs and borders and language numbering. Lots of different ways I can modify that style to make it do what I want to do. So I hit OK, and now everything is going to show up in that style. So that's what styles will do for you. It's really a helpful, absolutely helpful way to organize a document rather than constantly making choices for every section about the font you need and the bold and whatnot. And you don't have to keep up with all those choices. The other reason I think that styles are so important, though, is for heading styles. So heading styles aren't going to just organize or just arrange the font and the color and whatnot for those choices, but it's also going to create some organizational structures within the document. So what I mean by heading styles are these headings that are listed: heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. So if I have my entry there, apostolicity, and I identify it as heading 1, so think in heading 1, think about your outline. This would be Roman numeral 1. Heading 2, the capital letter A. Heading 3, Arabic number 1. So heading 1, and then I can go through here and identify my entries, the terminology for my entries as all heading 1, and then it'll match that for that style. So then if I go back here to something that's identified as heading 1 and modify that, now I can do some things with it. Maybe I want that to be a color. I like that maroon. Maybe I want this to be a little bit smaller. I don't want it to be 14 point, and I don't want that space before and after the paragraph. So I come through here and I say 0, and also 0 after. And that way, now everything's going to collapse a little bit on that, because the normal also has some spacing there. I have to go back through and modify that as well, so that I don't maintain the large spacing, lots of white space there. So you can see now, this is some ways that that heading can do some things quickly for those things that are identified as heading. So I've got another document here that has all of my terms identified in that way. And we'll show you a few other things that headings will do for you. You notice I have this navigation pane up over here. So if I hit Control F and I erase everything that might be there and select headings, then notice that all of my terms that have that heading marker are organized over here. And so I have an outline of the document over here. I find this incredibly helpful. So now if I just want to see the Nicene Creed entry, I can select it from this menu on the left, and it moves directly to that Nicene Creed entry. You'll notice that some of my entries have subdivisions. So I've actually used heading 2 to separate out some of those elements. So this is just a way to organize the document and be able to navigate it fairly quickly without having to constantly scroll and look around for something. But one other thing that we can do then with this is if I hit Control A and I right click and go down here to this Expand Collapse option, and I collapse all headings, then it's going to give me a list. Now don't worry, the text is still there, but what it's done, it's just collapsed everything within that heading. It treats that heading like a container, gives me a little arrow there, so I can expand it to see what's there, or I can contract it. And I can do some things now at this point to help me. If this were not in alphabetical order, let me go ahead and move pantheism up here to this location, then it's out of order. I'm not alphabetized anymore. So I can hit Control A and I can sort that by headings. I have this option to sort by headings, and I can hit OK, and now it's going to put everything in alphabetical order. One note of important note here is that you want to make sure that if you use the headings 2 to sub-organize your entries, then you're going to want to make sure that you in fact do collapse those down. Otherwise, it will alphabetize the subheadings also within that entry. Just be aware of what it's doing, at what level it's doing it. So the next thing I want to talk about then is that organization of a definition itself. As we said in the assignment, the definition needs to cover at least 2 areas, so that the areas are biblical, historical, denominational, and contemporary. We might even need to add contextual to that option, but for now, that's what we've got. So I've got the term reconciliation pulled up here, and this is kind of a hit or miss strategy, right? My definitions haven't been consistent. So sometimes I've used the subheadings and sometimes I've used something else. But I think I kind of like it this way, where the definition is one long paragraph and I'm going to subdivide it by the areas that I'm focused on. So notice I have the Old Testament, the New Testament, the denominational and contemporary theology, And I need to add a works cited to this entry because I'm going to use this Benefits of His Passion by C.H. Dodd, and I need a full workup there. But then you can kind of identify for your reader the sections of your entry. So notice I've used an Arabic numeral for the major headings and bolded those major headings, and then within that I have used letters A and B, lowercase letters A and B, to then further delineate pieces of that. So it's faith, community, reconciliation, and the theology, humanity, reconciliation. So you want to be consistent with that. You want to think about how to organize your document so that it's easy to read. Hope that's helpful, and you might want to check out some other YouTube videos that will talk about how to organize your document.